right. Good morning, everybody. 7 a.m. on Tuesday, June 6th. And we are on day 7 of our 10K to $2 million funding challenge using app Bespoke Funding. So glad you guys are here with us watching and checking this out, following along on our journey. We have taken 3 trades so far, and we have not had the same good setups that we had during phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 2, we had just an incredible week of trading with phase 2. We had a setup like every day that week, and so far we have not had the same setup luck, I guess, so to speak. And that's fine. It happens. This is the part of being a good hunter. Hey, good morning, Michael. Welcome in. Being a good hunter, that it just takes time and it takes patience, and you have to sit around and wait. And you sit in your tree stand and you just enjoy the process. You enjoy watching candles print, and you enjoy doing what you're doing, and you let those trade setups come to you. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to be watching and waiting. We have 4 more days of trading until we're eligible for our first payout on this Sunday, June 11th. And we're just watching and waiting, man. I mean, if I find a good setup today on one of our pairs and we get exactly what we want, we get a run on liquidity, we get displacement away with a fair value gap inside of a breaker, then we'll take the trade. Until then, we're just chilling and talking and hanging out and seeing what is going on the charts. So no big news today. We have some news tomorrow at 8:30. We have the balance of trade that's going to come in. So today could be, a nice moving day without any crazy volatility. It could just, reach for some liquidity, move away, and give us a nice 1 to 2 setup. What you see on the screen right here is something we identified yesterday on gold. This is a 4-hour breaker block right here that we're currently inside of. So you've got your 2 4-hour candles here. You had a run on liquidity above an old high, and then you had displacement back through with a fair value gap nested inside here. There's another fair value gap slightly above that it might be reaching into. This trade idea I have is framed up. This is not part of this system and strategy that I'm using on this 10K to $2 million funding challenge, but this is a strategy that I use. And you can see it's built up liquidity overnight. It's reaching back up into it now. You have this 30-minute fair value gap right here, and this is just an order block, a 30-minute order block. And that is a valid trade setup on one of my other systems. But that would be a fairly large stop loss and a big 1 to 2. I would not be taking that. I'm not suggesting you take it either. But I did have this marked up last night as I was looking at a couple other things. And that 4-hour breaker is currently holding pretty nicely inside here. Price is struggling. You're at an order block here, but there's a fair value gap right up above it. So that's kind of, I'm just kind of watching on as far as our system goes. I would be looking, we've run liquidity here. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. We've run liquidity here right now, currently. So we engineered liquidity from yesterday. We've taken out yesterday's high. If we get displacement lower here now, I would be, very interested to see a breaker structure with a fair value gap left behind. So this could be a breaker. One of these 2 candles could act as breakers here on a 15-minute time frame. So we'll have to watch gold. Excuse me, I got the odds early this morning. Got swerved this morning on EU. Wanted it short off the 15-minute fair value gap breaker after taking out yesterday's high. Yeah, man, it's a good run down, but there could be another opportunity. Don't sweat missing a move. Sometimes it gets swerved. I get swerved all the time. I'll put in my limit orders, and it just doesn't come back up to where I want it to be, and that's perfectly fine. My throat is feeling pretty scratchy today. Not, I feel like I slept good, but I woke up and I have that kind of sore, itchy thing going on that I don't know. It's just not making me feel super great vocally right now, and I'm wondering if I'm coming down with a cold or something because it definitely does not feel great. It doesn't feel good. Good morning, guys. Welcome in, Sam and Beeswax. Glad you guys are here again. Dollar. So yesterday, let's just jump up here on a daily time frame and see what we saw. So we could have formed the low of the week on dollar. This was Monday. We've taken out yesterday's low and we're pulling back pretty heavily now. I was bullish dollar and I still am. I'm expecting the dollar to move a little bit higher over the rest of this week. We're in an uptrend. We're continuing to be in an uptrend. We're going to need to see some displacement now in the next day or two or three. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, today, tomorrow, and Thursday up to break through these highs and eventually target at least this bullish candle here. There's liquidity above here. There's liquidity above last week's high. And this volume imbalance up here on the daily. So I think our low of the week might be in if it trades below here. Obviously, that's invalidated and I would be wrong. But that's kind of what I am looking at right now. Still bullish dollar. Pound, very similar situation. We would be bearish on the pound. We reached up last night. There are relative equal highs here, but we actually did reach up above this high and grab liquidity. And in the last 8 hours, we've been dropping pretty hard. In the last 6 hours, and you can see that here. So you had a run on stops. Buy side liquidity gets tapped into, and then we displace away. This would have been your 1 hour breaker. This also could be a breaker as well. There are no fair value gaps inside of here. But for me, I would want to see price move back up into a premium from the overnight high here from this leg down. So I would want to see price move at least back up above this area, which would line up with this breaker. And there might be a lower time frame. There's a small fair value gap inside of here, and on the 15-minute, not really much of any fair value gap here. But this is the area I would want to see price pull back in New York and run some buy stops here before we continue the trend down for the rest of the day. But that's kind of what I'm anticipating. Euro looks very similar. We had a run above an old high. We run buy stops, and then we've been moving lower. And so you can see we engineered liquidity. We ran those stops. We displaced back through. This is a beautiful breaker block right here. You had this down candle, initiated a run up, broke back through, and now there's a fair value gap nested inside of that 1 hour breaker block right there. And we would be looking at something similar here. We would want to see price pull back up above into this range, and ideally maybe even up into that 62 fib here. We'll see if we get a big enough pullback for that to happen. May not, and that's fine, but that's what I would like to see, is price to move back up into a premium above the 50% level here and then we'll watch and wait. We do have a small fair value gap here just below the 50%, but I would want to, there's another one here on the 30-minute that would line up with your breaker. These three 30-minute candles would be your breaker. They initiate the run on stops and then displaced below, and you have a fair value gap sitting in here. So this would be a good level right here that I'd be watching for this morning as we head into the New York trading session for the next couple of hours. ICT Concepts in Telugu. I don't know how you say that. Yeah, man, I'm yawning hard this morning. I actually slept really good, but I do not feel like great. I definitely have something cooking in here, and that's concerning to me. I hate being sick, man. Especially head colds, and my throat doesn't feel good. It's not fun. I can stay on this morning for a pretty good while. At least until the 9 o'clock hour. So we'll stay on for sure for a couple hours. And then we'll just see what's cooking after that. Maybe we stay on a little bit more. If not, we'll call it a day. Depends also on how my voice holds up here, because it does not feel great. So here on the 15-minute, man, I got a mosquito or something flying around in front of my face. And I've got all kinds of problems going on right now. But this, let's see, this is the 15-minute that I think, Michael, you were talking about right here. This 15-minute breaker with a fair value gap. So this would be your breaker. I need to just set these up as presets. And maybe I'll do that. Save as breaker block. And then in here, you've got your fair value gap nested inside. That really was just a very clean setup. Let me save as order. I can't type. I still can't type. That's a very clean setup. Yeah, I would have. I mean, that's a perfect run on stop. So you had this that initiated the up move, cleared out stops, and then ran lower, leaving a fair value gap with displacement below. That is a beautiful A+ setup. So we have above here, we have buy stops. All right, anybody that's looking for a strategy to trade, or you're coming in here and you're trying to identify how can I pass challenges, this is a very simple setup. You have to be patient for it to develop and to wait. But you can see right here, there's buy side liquidity. Above all of here are buy stops. And if price wants to move lower, it will move up to collect these orders, so it will move lower. So it moves higher first, so it can go lower, which is its intended direction. And so you see these two down close candles, this move, this big move up, this energetic move into these buy stops, it started down here on these two down close candles, created a swing low. It aggressively runs buy stops. It stays around up here and collects more orders for a couple of hours. And then you get an aggressive displacement away from this liquidity grab. It displaces through that order block, making it become a breaker block. It leaves behind a fair value gap inside of that breaker. And I would have targeted probably about 50% of the breaker, which is just inside that fair value gap, so somewhere around here, and put my stop probably above the body of the candle that created the fair value gap here. Target 1 to 2 And you can see price started to come back up, but we just couldn't dig in. It came back up to the breaker, like it came up to the bottom of the breaker, but it didn't get into the fair value gap. And so this is where you have to figure out what's your comfort level of trading, because you could put your entry at the breaker and you would have got triggered in, but you still have to put your stop up here, which widens your risk reward ratio. Now you have to target way down here, which is more work for the trade to do, and it can do it, as you can see it did here. But it's not always going to do that much work for you, I guess is what I can say. And so this becomes not quite low-hanging fruit for me. This is why I prefer to see a dig into the fair value gap. And I kind of like to target 50% of my breaker blocks. So that's kind of probably where I would have put mine. So about an 8 pip stop is probably what I would have used, and my profit target would have been way back up here. That would have been low-hanging fruit. Tap me in, get inside that fair value gap, then fall away to target the sell side liquidity under here, which lines up with where our 1 to 2 risk reward ratio would be. But that is that's a beautiful, beautiful setup. And it happened during London, and that's fine. They happened during London. They happened during New York. And if I'm in the tree stand when it happens in New York, I'm going to take my shot. If it happens in London, then I'm like, cool. It showed up while I was sleeping, and I don't care. I don't care. I'd rather sleep than be up and be miserable just so I could try to catch a trade. You don't know when these setups are going to form, what session they're going to form in. You don't know. There'll be seasons where it seems like they always form in London and never form in New York. And then there's going to be seasons where they always form in New York and they never form in London. And you just don't know what price is going to do, when and where. You just have to get up every day and do the same thing that you do every day and put yourself in a position to be able to find and identify these setups when they happen. But that was a great setup. And it actually kind of lines back up with our OTE area. That breaker and fair value gap line right back up with our OTE. It gets us back into a premium. There is a fair value gap here inside this 15-minute order block. There is buy-side liquidity above here. So I'll be interested to see what happens if we can get a pullback into this area. Does it come back up and retest, dig into that fair value gap a little bit maybe this morning? Potentially. That could be a good trade opportunity. Breaker block, a fair value gap, left behind a fair value gap that hasn't been tapped into, back into an OTE, back above a premium. So all of that we'll just watch and wait. And it does not have to get up there. Okay, this is what I would prefer it do. If it runs liquidity right here and we get displacement lower, that's valid as well. I would like to see it get back up into at least this fair value gap here, in line with that 15-minute order block, which would be in and around our premium discount level, 50% of our move down. All right, so there's euro, there's pound. We know what we're kind of looking for on both of these right now. Dollar is, it's moving back up. It's taken out yesterday's low and has reversed. So we are bullish on our dollar. For our plays to trade out on euro, pound, and probably gold, we're going to need to probably see the dollar retrace a little bit here. And you can see this would be you can either use this as a breaker or these two candles as a breaker. The up move, take out liquidity, reverse, and displace. So this fair value gap here around inside this breaker block would be what I would want to see the dollar come back down into before we reach back up towards that volume imbalance up here. So that's what we're going to be watching and waiting on the gold. Gold, I would like to see it dig a little bit higher. It has taken out buy side liquidity, and so now if we get displacement and a break of structure, then we will wait for a fair value gap. This could be a nice breaker. If we get displacement down away from this area and we get some fair value gaps left inside of here, this could be a good target for an entry to head lower here. US 30 back inside its nasty range. All it did was grab liquidity over here and grab liquidity over here. So it's in a seek and destroy mode right now. And it's still kind of moving along with the dollar. It's starting to separate a little bit. Dollar did move up. And the index is still kind of flat. Of course, it hasn't opened yet today. Oh. Y'all, I go to bed early. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I go to bed early. I get 8 hours of sleep, and I'm up by 5 a.m. in Texas. So I'm usually in bed between 9 and 10 o'clock at night every night, and I sleep like a baby. I sleep good typically, so I don't know why. And I feel good when I wake up. I don't feel sleepy. I don't like it. Doesn't take me a long time to wake up, but man, I am yawning today. I was yawning yesterday too. It's like once you get them, you can't stop. Can't stop. Yeah, man. London session was good last night, Michael. That would be a great. That would have been a great setup. Sorry you got swerved on that, but way to go to identify that, man. Just being able to see that, to be patient, let that form, and identify where you wanted your entry to be. Kudos to you, man. That's a big step in the process, is just being able to identify and wait for that setup to appear. They are super powerful. They're super simple, but you do have to be patient. With whatever trading management, whatever trading plan you have, whatever strategy you have to be patient. You cannot rush this process. You cannot be rushing in and just expecting to find a trade every single day. So we're watching and waiting, and I'm not stressing about getting a payout on Sunday. If we don't get a trade the rest of the week, the account is in profit, and bare minimum, I'll get my refund on my challenge fee, and we would be able to buy one more 10K challenge. But hopefully, I'm hopeful that we can find one good setup and get a winner in there, and capitalize on this and try to get, if we could get a winner and get up to 4%, we would be able to buy a 50K challenge, and that would be awesome. That would be great, and a good step forward in getting some momentum towards 2 million. We'll just have to watch and wait. All right, let's see. Are there any other charts while we're sitting here waiting for price to retrace here a little bit? Is there any other charts that you guys are looking at that you would want me to pull up and take a peek at with you and kind of run down some quick analysis and see what I see? Anything. Doesn't have to be. It's fine. But just throw it over in the chat. Think about a monitor this here on the 15-minute. We're going to want to see some, again, we're going to want to see an old high. So here and then this high and this fair value gap, I would like to see a retrace back up into these levels before we roll over and try to make a new low for the day. And same thing here. I think I would like to see price on pound come back up into these levels here. Would be nice. Some news headlines. Cable settles into consolidation channel. Breakout levels analyzed. That was 44 minutes ago. Aussie jumps on RBA hike. US dollar steady. Oh, Sam says, GJ. God, I know this is horrible to watch and listen to. All right, here we go. We looked at this last we already have some lines marked up. You can see higher highs, higher lows, higher high. Reaching back down currently. You've got obviously some sell side liquidity here. You can see it reached in here and then ran up higher, grabbed buy side, and now it's had I would need to see something happen at this level. This is either going to be a liquidity grab for the pound to run higher, or we're going to have a break of structure. You still have this sell side liquidity under here. You've got some buy side liquidity up there. So you had a swing high right here. Swing low, swing low. We grab liquidity. We've displaced through it. Break of structure. Came back up into that fair value gap, fallen away. We've reached under this liquidity, but we haven't closed under it. So you can see it's just it's chopped inside this range currently on the 4 hour. So we've taken sell side, we've taken buy side, and it's about 50% of the way into this range. We are in a overall uptrend. So you'd probably be slightly more bullish maybe, but it's kind of hard to say just because you are in the middle. It's moving, you can see it's moving sideways like this on a 30-minute time frame here. You've now had a liquidity grab. So here you took out an old low and now you're displacing back above it currently. And you've got your buy side liquidity up here, your sell side below. Your ultimate sell side target would be down here. This could be if this hourly candle closes up the next. So for me on the we're on the 30-minute time frame. This is a 30-minute breaker. So you have this candle that moves up. You get an aggressive move down to clear out liquidity, and now you're getting an aggressive move higher after liquidity. The overall longer term trend has been bullish, so I would want to see how this next 30-minute candle closes. Does it continue to push up and leave behind a fair value gap right here? If you're bearish, depending on what your bias is, then you're moving into a bearish breaker right here. These three down candles caused a move that ran these highs up here and took out liquidity and then displaced aggressively away, leaving a fair value gap inside of a breaker over here. So you have these three down candles, you had a run above an old high, and then you had displacement away. But now that we've already taken some sell side, the question is, do you believe it's going to want to continue down to this sell side liquidity? Or do you think this was the stop hunt? This was the liquidity crab, and now you're getting displacement away. So if this 30-minute candle that just opened, if it leaves a fair value gap right here and closes bullish, then I would probably be inclined to say this is going to be a bullish breaker, and I would target that fair value gap to potentially run back up into these highs. But I also know I'm bearish on pound dollar. So this would be in conflict with how I feel about pound dollar weakening. So you're going to have to decide. You have a breaker that it's traded up into right now, a fair value gap, and a small fair value gap here inside this breaker. You have to decide, am I bearish or bullish? If you're bearish, then it's inside of a fair value gap, inside of a 30-minute breaker, and that could be the retrace that it wants to tap into before it targets a new low here in this sell side liquidity. If you're bullish, then I would want to see how this 30-minute candle closes and then use this as a bullish breaker and use either this fair value gap, if there's one that's left behind, or this fair value gap as an entry to go higher and target some of this internal liquidity up here. That's kind of how I view GJ. I don't know if that was super helpful. I didn't give you like a clear cut, it's gonna do this, but I don't watch GJ, and that's what I see. You have a bearish breaker, you ran liquidity, you displace below it. Now, after you've grabbed liquidity, you've potentially be creating a bullish breaker with a fair value gaps inside there. So you're going to need to decide what your bias is and only trade in line with your bias. That would be my take on GJ right there. Interested to see what happens when if gold can push higher and get up into this fair value gap right here. It's running liquidity. It would run more liquidity, dig into there. Does it roll over after that? This is the daily breaker that I pointed out in last week's streams and already yesterday. And this is currently, this teal box is a 4-hour breaker and a 4-hour fair value gap. It's engineered liquidity. It has taken out buy side. If it displaces away from here, we'll be ready for it. All right, so we're just watching and waiting here. I imagine in the next 60 minutes, we'll start to see New York play its hand. And is it going to continue the London order flow? So we had bearish order flow throughout London. Do we get any kind of pullback to then continue where London is pointing, hey, we should be going down? So is that what's going to happen? We don't know. We don't know. But that's what I'm inclined to believe is bearish on euro, bearish on pound. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I won't trade today. I'm only going to trade if it aligns with my bias and I see what I want to see. I'm in no rush to just get into something. In no rush to do that whatsoever. It has technically run liquidity right here. So on the 15-minute time frame, this is a swing high. So you have a lower high and a lower high. In between is your higher high. That's a swing right there. It has grabbed and reached up above that and grabbed liquidity. But you can see as it tried to move back lower, it did not displace back lower. It's currently stalled out. So this is why I would like to see it run, take another dig higher into some of this London move down before we try to find our entry. EM Trading, hey bro, which firm are you funded with? Well, I'm currently funded with Bespoke. I'm also currently funded with the Funded Trader. That was before I got funded with them, before the no time limit firms started popping up. There's no reason I'm going to go back to a time limit firm. I'm not. Until I'm max funded at as many no time limit firms as I can be, I'm not going to go back to a time limit firm. And my guess is most of the time limit firms are going to start introducing challenges that have no time limits to compete with and stay relevant in the industry. I don't know why anybody would still be buying a time limit challenge. It doesn't make any sense. But I do love TFT, the Funded Trader. Man, they're a great company. They're killing it. I think they just passed, I think I saw a stat yesterday. They passed over $62 million in payouts. And I think they're only like 2 years old. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy quick growth. So good for them. They really, FTMO and my Forex funds, I think is still the most popular, which is odd to me. And FTMO is still the second most popular, which is very odd to me. Like, I know that they've been around the longest. FTMO's been around the longest. But why in the world are you still buying challenges that have time limits on them with these huge profit targets? Why would you put yourself in that position? It makes absolutely zero sense for traders to handicap themselves with a time limit when you don't have to. There are great firms that exist right now that have no more time limits. So, hey Corey, welcome in, bud. My OG popping in. Good to have you. How's your challenge going, Corey? I haven't heard from you in a while about how your challenge. I think you were up like 1.5% the last time I checked, but that was probably like a week or so ago. How is that happening, man? Where are you at on that? I think you're with Smart Prop Trader too, if I remember. You've got a challenge with Smart Prop Trader. I think that was you. Maybe that was Muhammad. I can't remember. But I'd love to know how things are going with that. EM Trading says, I started with my Forex funds, currently funded with them, and patiently waiting for my payout now, which is due in 2 weeks. Congrats, bro. That's a huge step. Passing those challenges and reaching a payout it's huge. You know, I mean, we've all seen the statistics on how few traders actually get funded and reach, not just get funded, but reach a payout. It is a very, very small percentage of traders. So big props to you for getting funded, and now go out there, be patient, wait for your A+ setup, and then take it down when it shows up, man. I hope you can, I hope you get a payout there. What size account are you funded with them on? Corey says, I haven't traded actually recently because I've been busy in the morning. And yeah, I was Smart Prop up. Still only up 2.5%. Hey, only 2.5%. Don't say only. You're up 2.5%, man. It's freaking awesome. It's not just only, like it's a small number. Imagine when you're max funded and you're making 2.5%. You're not going to say only 2.5%. Okay? I don't know what Smart Prop Traders max funding is. What is it, like 400K or 600K or something? 600, let's say it's 600K. I don't know if it is. That's, what is that, like 6, 12, what is that, 15K, and you get 80% of 2.5 of 15. So you're around $10,000 on 2.5% on a max funded account. I don't think you're going to be in here saying only 2.5%. I'm just ribbing you, man. You should not, don't think of it like that. Change your mindset. 2.5% is good, and you're on a no time limit prop firm. They just removed, I think, recently removed all their time limits. Be patient. Be patient, man. You're almost halfway there, I think. Theirs is like 7% or 7% profit target or 7.5% profit target. So you're almost halfway. Just hang in there. Way to go. We got any more funded traders hanging out in the chat, or any other traders that are in challenges right now? It's a 10K account. My Forex Funds has a rule where you have to make at least $50 on the account to be eligible for a payout. Is it the same with Bespoke? Nope, that's a stupid rule. Again, I don't know why people are still trying to use all these. They put in all these stupid rules. That's a dumb rule. That's just my opinion. No, Bespoke does not have that. Bespoke is you get a profit split. Like I'm currently $6.25 in profit with Bespoke, and my profit split is like $5. But I get 150% refund or something on my challenge fee. So that would allow me to buy another 10K challenge if we don't find a trade between now and let me rephrase that. If we don't find a winning trade between now and Friday. 10K account, man, that's all you need to start with. That's all you need to start with. 10K, get a payout, buy another 10K at bare minimum, or buy the next largest challenge that you can from your profit split. Reinvest in this business. Reinvest into this business. Your 10K account is not what's going to change your life. Your 10K account is not going to let you quit your day job, okay? Your 10K account is the first brick in the building that you're going to build for your business. It's the first thing. It's the tiny little snowball that you're trying to start rolling down the hill that can grow into something massive that can then change your life with a 2.5% payout. Yeah, so we're just sitting here watching. We're about 15 minutes away from the hourly candle close. Pound is falling back down. Euro is falling back down. Dollar is still climbing. I would want to see a retrace here of the dollar as we get into New York. But it may not. It may just take off running. You have this fair value gap here on the 15-minute from pound dollar, this large buy side imbalance. We've tapped back into it and it's held price. And then you've got relative equal lows down here now. You've got ultimately it left this sell side liquidity in place from last week or last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago. But you do have a nice little trend line coming up here that retail is going to see. And anytime you get trend lines, there's sell side liquidity underneath those trend lines. So that's why I think we're heading lower. We've already cleared out buy side. We had a nice little stop hunt up here. You had buy side liquidity. It's ran that and fallen away. So now we're just trying to get a decent pullback. But it may not. It may not. This fair value gap up here on the hourly. It tapped into this forward value gap and has fallen away. So this may just be a breakaway. It may be like we're going to run aggressive. We're not going to turn around and give you a chance. We just want to run some liquidity back into the opening week gap here. So you see this completely traded back through and filled in that opening week gap. I imagine we're going lower though. I would just like to see a run on liquidity here before we just tank. You've got last week's low, and again these lows down in here. And on our higher time frame, what we're really reaching for and hoping. Let me get over here. This is the daily volume imbalance currently that we're finding support on. This daily order block. On a weekly time frame, you have this large volume imbalance on the weekly. Right here, we tapped into a little bit. I think we're going lower down into here. There's a lot of liquidity built up here. I don't know that we get there this week, but I think sometime this month. But we'll see. It may not. It may just be trying to pick up some more orders, and inside this volume imbalance here, that then shoots higher. Hey, good morning, Ahmad. Welcome in, man. AM Trading says I'm up $58. Hey, so you've at least hit their profit line, so you can take a payout. Trade copiers are great. To be able to do this challenge, we're going to be using trade copiers to get to 2 million. I'm going to be using this 10K account here as my master trading account. So with the next challenge I buy, I will be trading on this live account to pass and copy trades to the challenges. So that way, when I make 8% to pass phase 1, I will have made 8% on this funded account. And I can use that to withdraw, buy another challenge as I move into phase 2. So I'll have a funded account, a phase 1, and a phase 2. And that's going to be the cycle that we are always in as we look to grow this thing. One thing I would just continue to encourage you guys is how much patience really plays into this. I have not taken. There's only been three trade setups in almost, let's see, this is day 7, so just a week and a half. The market just has not given us the setups that we need on this system. And you have to be okay with that. There is no rush. There's no rush. If you're trading out of desperation because you have a rent due in a week and you're like, I've got to pass this challenge and I've got to get funded or I'm not going to make rent, you shouldn't be trading. You should be going out and finding another job, a second job or a third job, whatever it is. You need to fix that first. You cannot put yourself in a situation where this has to work or your life is destroyed, basically. Like you're going to get evicted or you're not going to be able to eat or your water's going to get shut off or whatever it is. You need your day job. You need to be making enough money with your day job that trading is not stressful for you, that your bills are covered, your expenses are covered. and that you're okay financially until trading can take over and you can back off on some of that. So just be patient. All right. We're reaching for these lower lows here. It looks like we're wanting to take out the lows of overnight from London, from the big move down. If we get displacement below here, that's what we would want to see to continue that we're going to trend. If we don't get displacement, that's kind of good because then it may come back up here and sweep some liquidity for us. Same thing here. I would rather it not displace lower and just keep running for our trade setups to... Hey, good morning, Beeswax. Oh, you're saying morning, Domod. I was like, I think you already said morning. Been in here already. You were here almost from the jump, ready to go. Morning, man, are you taking this setup? No, I have not called this trade that you see, Jack. That was a trade setup that occurred overnight in London, and it was a beautiful setup. If it gets back up there, I might take it, but no, it's not. That is not a live trade that I've called. We're hoping it can get back up into a premium and take out some of this buy-side liquidity. If it can get all the way back up, it never got into the fair value gap here that's nested inside this beautiful breaker. All it did was touch the breaker and then completely crap the bed. So, I mean, it is a good setup and it could work out later today, but it is not a setup. I'll go ahead and take that off so it's not confusing to anybody. But if anybody was up during London and was watching Euro, God, that was a beauty. That's a trophy. That's what a trophy buck looks like right there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're starting to displace now below the low here. We have about 6 more minutes here on the 15-minute candle and the close of the hourly. And we're going to have to wait and watch and see what happens as we get into the 8 o'clock hour. Do we get any kind of healthy pullback? Or are we just going, is the dollar just going to run? Is it just going to take off? Maybe gold is going to be our setup today. If the dollar is super strong, I would anticipate some gold weakness and some indice weakness. And maybe we get a setup on gold today. We've reached up into this buy-side liquidity. We're inside this 4-hour breaker. It's held up nicely. There is a small little 30-minute fair value gap up above that maybe you get one more dig and then it rolls over. We'll see, but I would like to see some displacement in gold now. And start seeing some structure breaks and some shift in structure. I would want to see some displacement below this candle, this 15-minute bearish candle here. This was the last candle that we had our run up into liquidity. So if we could get some displacement below there with a fair value gap, that could be a nice entry on gold. You still have a lot of buy-side imbalance that you haven't tapped back into. There's easy 1 to 2 in there if we get that set up. EM says he's currently doing 2 50K challenges with MyFund.fx. Great firm, great no time limit. Glad you're with them. Really taking my time with this one. They really are a game changer, man. For all these prop firms that say they exist to give traders the best conditions possible and they really want traders to succeed. Well, if that's the case, then take off your time limits. If you want traders to succeed, if you want traders that can truly be patient and wait and show self-discipline, Get rid of the freaking time limits. You want to keep an 8% profit target? Fine. You want people to make 8% to pass your challenge? Fine. Give them all the time they need to do that, because that's what a professional trader is going to do. So yeah, my funded FX is great. Bespoke's great. Funded Engineer has no time limits. I think Funded Next just introduced a no time limit challenge. I think it's called Stellar. Yeah, if these prop firms have to practice what they preach, if they truly want to see and find successful traders, then, let them trade during the challenges the same way they would trade when they're funded. That's it. Put your money where your mouth is, and help traders be successful. Otherwise, you're just fostering gambling. You're fostering fear. You're fostering FOMO. You're fostering greed. You're fostering just a whole gambling mindset, and it's not helpful. Same with all these damn prop firm giveaways. It's the exact same thing. They are more interested in promoting their brand than they are in actually seeing traders pass and be successful. Prop firm giveaways are lottery tickets. That's all it is. It's a lottery ticket, and the people who win these prop firm giveaways are gamblers. Gamblers. I think one of the prop firms put out a tweet, I think today even, I saw it this morning when I woke up, or last night, I can't remember when it was, but it said they've given away 700 accounts through giveaways with influencers and whatever, social media, Twitter. They've given away 700 accounts, and seven people have reached a payout. It is nothing but a lottery machine. And the more you're doing that, you're just trying to promote your brand. Giveaways are not helpful. They do nothing but foster a gambling mindset. When you give these traders these small 5K and 10K accounts, it's just a lottery ticket. All they're going to do is go in and freaking gamble. They don't care if they hit their daily loss limit. They're going to try and pass that challenge as fast as they can. Very, very few, as you can tell from the statistic and that's just one prop firm. Their statistic gave away over 700 accounts, and 7 people reached a payout off of that. 7. That's worse. That is significantly worse than the statistics you have on people who are actually paying, because they have no skin in the game. They don't give a crap. It's a small 5K account. It's a 10K account, whatever it is. Whatever account size it is, it's gambling. And you're just giving your traders lottery tickets. And it's frustrating as hell to scroll through Twitter, and every third tweet is a giveaway graphic, and it just junks up my timeline, and I'm tired of it. That's just my soapbox. I know there are people out there that are like, I can't afford an account. I would treat it differently. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, and the statistics say otherwise. The statistics say giveaways are junk. All they're doing is it's free advertisement for prop firms. That's all it is. And it's not helping people pass challenges. It's fostering a gambling mindset. It's building bad habits. It is feeding the get rich quick, scammy, nasty vibe that people have for Forex trading. And it grosses me out. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Somebody needs to come up with a way to innovate the giveaways so that there's I don't know. There just needs to be there needs to be a step in the process that you want to do a giveaway, then you need to, there needs to be some other steps in there. And maybe if these mentors were, all these influencers were giving them away and you're like, hey, I'm going to give you a free account, but we're going to do this on Zoom together. Like we're going to get on a trading session and I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you walk through how to pass a challenge. And I don't know what it is, but it's not helpful and it's not helping people. It's not helping traders. And they're going to say, well, we're not in control. All we're doing is giving people access to a chance. Well, no, what you're doing is you want exposure for your firm, and I'm fair game. Your job is to promote your business. I get that. But it's the whole practice what you preach. It's the whole, if you truly want to find and foster good traders, the statistics say you're doing the exact opposite with all these giveaways. You're not, and they're just going to put it there. All they can do is just point their finger back at the traders and go, well, we can't control what traders should do with these firms. I get it 100%. But you could also just be like, hey, we're not going to give away accounts. Or we're going to give away accounts and there's another innovative process in that. Maybe the free account is you can get, I don't know, a bigger discount on an actual challenge. That it's not an actual challenge. It's like a giveaway for that if you hit, I don't know, a certain profit percentage, then you get this discount on a challenge that you now have to buy an actual real challenge. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm not a marketing genius, but I'm tired of seeing how that has. I'm tired of seeing on my timeline, and it's not helpful. And I'll fight with and argue with anybody about that. All right, so we've had displacement down below these lows. We haven't had any kind of pullback yet in our New York session. See what gold's doing. Gold still have not had. We almost had some displacement there in the last 15 minutes, but it's pulled back up. So again, we're just watching and waiting to see where and when do we get some type of liquidity grab. We've already had liquidity grab on gold. Pound and euro would need to pull back pretty good here. Well, technically, y'all, we ran liquidity here. And then we've displaced back below. You do have a fair value. Well, we'll have to see how this candle closes, but these three down close candles initiated this run that took out buy side liquidity right here. And if you look on the 5-minute, you can see these two down close candles initiated this run on buy side liquidity. And then we've had, I wish this wasn't here. I would have rather have seen this just come straight down through it. But you do have some nice fair value gaps here inside this breaker. I don't like it because of this right here. And on the 15-minute, it didn't displace straight away. It came back up. So I'm not going to treat that as a breaker. There are some people that would probably say that's a valid, good setup. That's not an A+ setup for me. That's more like a B+ setup. And I do not want to put my capital at risk on a B+ setup. So I'm not saying that you can't take that, but it did run liquidity and it has displaced lower. It's currently, depending on how this candle closes, leaving a nice little fair value gap nested here inside that breaker, these three down close candles. It's not as clear on the 30. You can see on the 30-minute, it's just a pullback and a drop. Another reason why I would rather see price clear out this liquidity or this liquidity. And ultimately, I'd like to see it pull back up. I just don't know that we're going to get that. Same on pound. This down close candle initiated a run above buy stops, and then it's now displaced through, but it's not leaving a fair value gap behind. Here, 5-minute down close candle, run on stops, and then again, you didn't get a straightaway displacement. I want to see displacement that doesn't pause. I want to see displacement that runs through straight without pullbacks. That's not energetic displacement. Should be a grab on liquidity up here and then an immediate displacement away. I don't want to see it this pullback, and then drop. But that is a nice little fair value gap nested inside your breaker area. So again, B plus setup. I'm not telling you to take it. I'm not telling you to take any of the trades I take. I'm just saying when I call a trade, it's because I'm taking it. I'm not saying you should take this trade. It needs to fit your system. It needs to fit your criteria. Is the displacement on EU now about set up? No, I just talked about that. It is technically, Michael, it is a breaker. You've had 3 down closed. You've had a run on liquidity. This is not a super energetic move. It's a very small run on liquidity. And then right here, this candle, I would want to have seen displaced below. It didn't. It stopped, pulled back, and then we got a displacement below. And I don't want that in my move through the breaker. That's my preference. It could hold, it could leave a nice little breaker, and it can hold here and continue lower. And that is a breaker, and that is a fair value gap inside of a breaker. But the displacement that it took to get there, it just doesn't look pretty to me. That's just my gut on how I view displacement back through. And you can see now we've grabbed liquidity. We took out the overnight lows, and we're kind of pulling back here on pound. See this breaker here, fair value gap. We didn't get displacement above on GJ. Sam was asking about GJ earlier. I had said I wanted this candle to continue to close higher. It did not. It pulled back in straight away. There's a small breaker here that could hold and push GJ higher. Maybe it does that, but this breaker here, so you see here, you have this down close, it pulled liquidity, but then once it started to displace, it displaced straight away. Same on Euro from last night. Once it started to displace, it displaced straight away. It didn't, so it came up here, ordered, but then once it started its move down, it went straight through it. It didn't pause like it did here. See, it paused here in the middle. It didn't just trade straight through it. That's why, again, I'm not telling you can't take that trade. That's a breaker with currently in the next 5.5 minutes. If it doesn't fill it in, you're going to have a breaker there, or a fair value gap there. If you trade order blocks, then you could say, hey, I've got an order block, and I've got a fair value gap inside of an order block, and I'm going to take that fair value gap inside of an order block. That is one setup that I trade on my other funded account. I trade order blocks. I trade fair value gaps inside of order blocks, which is similar to this 30-minute. Getting into it. I'm crossing my systems here, probably confuse you, but you got a 30-minute order block here, fair value gap. That could be just an entry. Once it gets like 50% of the way into that, put your stop above the bodies of the order block, target 1 to 2. Fair trade. I would rather see gold roll over and start displacing here. Pound coming back up. Euro, no wick left behind. Has no wick on the opening of that hourly candle. That could be the hourly high right there, or maybe we pop up into that fair value gap and then reach lower. Not interested. This would have been a better setup for me on the pound dollar. As you can see, it did. You had, once it started its move down from the liquidity grab, it traded straight through. The next up close candle, though, has not left behind a fair value gap. Pound would have been, if the pound would have left a nice little fair value gap here on this 15-minute candle, this breaker right here could be a really nice play, but it didn't leave behind a fair value gap in here. That could have been a really nice. And I probably would have rather have seen this close bearish and the fair value gap be up in here after a bearish close. Got in trouble last week on the gold trade for something similar, not letting that 15-minute candle continue displacement down. Not a bad setup. It's just not, for me, an A+ setup. Michael, if we pull back to premium, would you need to see a displacement lower after that on 15, or would you enter off an already existing fair value gap in the premium? I would, if we get a strong pullback up into this fair value gap in that order block, I might take that. But I would probably rather, if I was just going to place a trade, it would be on this London breaker that we identified earlier. If it got a pullback up into here, then I would anticipate I could just enter straight off of that breaker in that fair value gap because it hasn't ever been retested. I don't need to see displacement. This is the displacement, and then this would be the return of the fair value gap. And you can see that on the hourly, this leg down, and now we've actually gone lower. Now we've made a new low. So this could be your hourly or 30-minute breaker because you had this down move that initiated the run on liquidity here, and you have a small fair value gap at the base of that breaker. So anywhere up in here, I would consider entering on, but on the higher time frame. My preference would be that it comes up. Yes, my preference is that I want to see displacement away from that, but it doesn't have to. That we already have setups on higher time frames from a different session. Those are certainly usable for entries. Really like to see gold roll over here. That is a nice looking fair value gap. But I've already kind of stated my opinion on why that would not work for me. I would have much rather it seen, instead of displacing lower, come up, get some liquidity, than give us a move down. And that would have been a breaker for us. Had this candle gone up and got some liquidity, we would have used that as a breaker. But it didn't. Pound, again, displaced, did not continue to displace lower. Wick test, filled it all in. Didn't leave anything behind up here. This down close candle initiated a run above stops and into buy side liquidity in the form of this fair value gap, and displaced but did not leave any kind of fair value gap behind. Dollar's just running and not giving us any kind of breather to get a pullback anywhere. US 30 markets will open there in about 15 minutes, so we'll watch and wait on that. But as long as it's inside this range, this dealing range, we've grabbed sell side, we've grabbed buy side yesterday, and it's just junky, man, just junky. These fair value gaps off of this breaker here are holding on GJ. It's about that time. My pups are coming down. EM, I'll look at your question there in just a second. I need to let my doodles out to go do some business in the backyard. So let me take care of that for them, and then I'll be right back in a couple minutes. All right, that's quick. Quicker than they normally do it. EM says, what are your plans once you reach 2 million funding? Like, how would you manage all your accounts? What would your risk per trade be, for example? Good questions. Once I reach 2 million in funding, the way I'll manage my accounts is with a trade copier. And I will probably have a combination of, I'm not just going to have one $2 million account. I will probably have a combo of 1.2 million, I'm thinking. So that would be 3. So Bespoke Funding offers their largest account, single account, is $400,000. So So it would take five 400K accounts to make $2 million. So my plan currently, as I've thought about this a little bit, is to have three combined 400K accounts into, so you have 400K times 3 equals 1.2 million. And then I would have probably a 400K by itself. And then I would have probably a 200K. What's that? 1.2. That's 1.6, 1.8. And then I would have probably a 100K and then a 50K and another 50K. Probably something like that is what I'm thinking about. So I would have multiple, I would spread out that 2 million over multiple accounts. I would have one very large 6-figure account, 1.2 million, or 7-figure account. In combined, it's 7 figures. But that's the plan. And then I would use a 50K to master trade off of each of these accounts. Oh gosh, sorry about that. And then the plan would be on all of these. I need to go back in here. I would probably do this. I would probably do 2% on everything. 2% risk per trade on all of these. And then I would probably go to 1% risk here and here. And the goal would be, once I hit a one winner, like in one payout, I would just be looking for one winner, basically. So if you do the math on that, a winner would be, let me get back in here. So if I won, that would be 4%. I'd be, what's that, $2,000? That's a 2K profit. That's a 2K profit. That's a 4K profit. That's an 8K profit. That's also an 8K profit. And that would be, what is that, 24K profit. So that's how I would, once these would all be trade copied, and once I had one full winner of 1 to 2 in a payout, I would stop trading on that $2 million funded and just take that payout. So that'd be 80% of all of that added up. So what is that? 2, 4, 8, 16, 24, 48K. And 80% of that is, what is that, like $33,000 every 14 days. I think I could live on that okay. That's kind of my plan. I don't risk. That's how I would manage that, to answer your question. I have not documented the process of being max funded on prop firm accounts. Besides being I am not max funded with the Funded Trader. I'm close. They offer 600,000 in max funding. I'm close to being max funded with the Funded Trader, but I'm not there. This is the first account that I will take all the way to reach max funding. And that's kind of my plan here. That means some of these are going to have to be combined as we go along, whatever. I'm going to keep this 10K account as long as I can until the end. I just want to trade off of this 10K account as much as I can. How long do you think it'll take? I don't know, man. That all depends on the trade setups that appear. I mean, it could happen in 4 months. It could happen by September if... so I took a 10K, this 10K account, I took from phase 1 to payout in like 31 days. I think I started on like May 12th or 13th or something like that. I can't remember. Somewhere around there is when I started phase 1. And I'll get my payout on June 11th. So it's just a little, it's right at 30 days. So I'll get a payout. Hopefully I'll still be in profit and we don't take a loss here this week. But if we do, we do. No big deal. But if we can get a payout on June 11th and get my refund and I can buy another account, I'm hopeful that between it would, to get from challenge to payout would be between 30 and 45 days. I'm hopeful for that. And once you can get a decent sized payout on a 5-figure account, like a 50K or 100K, that's when you can then purchase those 200, 300, 400K accounts that then will allow you to, once you hit those larger 6-figure accounts, you can rapidly multiply from a payout. So it's kind of slow going here in the beginning and just trying to get a good payout on your first one so that you could try to get at least a 50K on your first payout. That's kind of what I was hoping is, but if I only can buy another 10K, I'll just I'll buy another 10K and I'll double the funding and we'll go from there. So my hope is that it doesn't take any longer than December. That's my goal, is by the end of the year. That's the goal. But we'll see how far we can get. It could happen as soon as September. If I could do, if I can take challenges to pay out in 30 to 45 days, then I could hit 2 million by September. But that's completely theoretical and a perfect world scenario like we got with our first 10K challenge, where we had good setups and it played out great. You can see these 2 weeks not been great. So we had 13 trading days for phase 1 and phase 2. You can go watch that playlist and see how that all played out. It's on YouTube. I put all those in their own playlist up there. We had 13 trading days and we took 10 trades in 13 days. We had 4 winners, we had 4 break evens, and we had 1 loss. It was just a great, basically 2.5 weeks of setups and trading. 1 week in phase 2, we had 5 days in a row where we got beautiful setups in the New York session. And now you can see these 2 weeks so far, we're 2.5 weeks in, and we've only had 3 setups, and 2 of them were losses, and 1 of them was a winner. But we're still in profit, even after that. 33% win rate on this funded account, and I'm still slightly in profit. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's gonna take several months to get there. This is not gonna happen fast. I mean, technically it could, because let's say you could get a 50K account and you know, that means I will have needed to make 8%. To get a 50K account to a payout, it means I will have needed to reach 8% on my 10K account, which would then allow me to buy a 100K challenge. And for that to get to payout, I would need to get the 50K to 8% and the 10K to 8%. So you can see those payouts start adding up and you can start buying these larger challenges. And then those payouts allow you to quickly, basically a 4% gain on a 400K account is $16,000. And 80% of that it's like $9,000. You could buy your other 400K accounts on one 400K winner, a 1 to 2 winner with a 2% risk on a 400K account. You could buy the rest of your funding to reach 2 million. So it's just slow going here in the beginning. You spend $100, you buy a 10K account. That's all you need. And then you just be patient. And 5-6 months later, you could be a 7-figure funded trader. It's about all it takes. Guys, if you haven't yet, if you'll hit that like button on the YouTubes, it does help get some exposure there and get the video out to other people that may want to watch. Engagement, as people engage on these videos, it does help push it out. You can see that we didn't get a retracement up into this fair value gap, but that is not a bad looking breaker. I just wish it wouldn't have stalled. I wish it would have displayed straight through, and then that would have been a valid trade for me. But this little hiccup right here, I don't like. I don't like it. Gold. Hey, we're getting displacement on gold. Hey, look at that. We could have a valid setup right here. We'll find out in about the next 15 to 20 minutes because we're going to need this to leave a fair value gap here. So after this candle closes, look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up this area. So I'm going to take out this, and I just want you to see this right here is our 15-minute breaker on gold currently. So we've had a run on stops, and now we're getting displacement down away from it. This candle needs to close bearish. The next candle, I would prefer it to close bearish and leave a fair value gap. And then we can be looking at something like this on gold. So we're getting some displacement on gold. We had talked about this earlier in the stream. It looks like GU and EU are not going to give us our strong pullback. US 30 has opened and done nothing. GJ still climbing there a little bit, stuck inside this breaker, stalling out there. But gold is looking kind of nice. So we'll see if we can get. It all depends. There's no move. We've got this 15-minute candle needs to close, and the next 15-minute candle needs to close before this becomes a valid setup. But the shape of it is taking form. Okay, the shape of it is taking form. We've had a run of buy-side liquidity. We had a deeper run, and then we're now getting some displacement lower. If it doesn't displace below here, this isn't a valid setup, but we would need this candle to close bearish, the next candle to close bearish with a fair value gap inside. That's where we'll wait and watch. We've got about 10 more minutes on that candle, and we'll see. EM says, I'm focusing on building my foundation accounts, which will be my 250K and the 10K live I have. Once I'm funded 110K, whatever money I make on that, I will use to buy 300 to 400, where I can risk aggressively to try and pass while still taking only A+ setups. Pass quick or fail fast, but I will always have my foundation account where I will risk conservatively fund my bigger accounts. Not a bad trading plan. I People are often shocked when they see that I'm risking 2% on my to pass these challenges is on my funded account, but they also don't understand my win rate and on my trading plans. And I'm only taking A plus setups, and so that's why I risk what I risk. And you can pass a challenge with 2 winning trades in a row. If you have an 8% profit target and you risk 2% per trade, and you are patient and you have no time limit and you are super picky, you can pass 2 winning trades in a row and you pass phase 1. And then 1.5 winning trades on phase 2 and you've passed phase 2 and you're funded. So, I mean, it's not super difficult to pass quickly if you will wait for your A plus trade setups, and you're only risking 2%, which is not astronomical. It's not. Most traders, when they're trading, professional traders outside of the kind of Forex prop firm world, are risking 1 to 2% per trade. And when I have a 7-figure combine account, when I combine my accounts into 7 figures, like 1.2 million, I will risk 1% of that. That's $12,000 on one trade of 1% risk. And then when a win would be obviously 1 to 2, so you would be winning $24,000 on a $1.2 million account. Anything under 400K, I'm probably going to be risking 2%. And anything 400K and over, I'll probably, once it's funded, I'll be risking 1% probably. But always 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. Excuse me. Nice reaction off of this 15-minute breaker right here. It came right back up into the wick of that breaker and fell off. Same here. Displaced through, came back right up to the bottom wick of that breaker and sold off. Did leave a nice fair value gap here. And again, not a bad place to target for an entry, but it is just running away, and dollar is just running much higher. So we would like to see gold here continue to close bearish, and then the next 15-minute candle also close. It doesn't have to, like, we don't want it, it doesn't have to close all the way down here, but just needs to leave a fair value gap and close bearish, and then we can identify an entry there on gold. Ahmad says, AU great setup breaker. Why he chose that specific area. Let's look at, let me pull up AU because we have some time here. 8 cap. Ahmad says there's a nice breaker. Yeah. So you've got your breaker here. These 3-minute candles altogether would be your breaker on your 15-minute. You would have to use all 3 of these. There is a fair value gap nested inside right here. You are getting displacement. If this candle closes below, then I would probably target the, if you trade Aussie dollar, I would probably be targeting a fill of that fair value gap right there. I would put my stop above the swing high, or maybe right about there. And then you've got your 1 to 2 right there. Yeah, that's a pretty setup on AU. Good job, Ahmad, spotting that. I don't trade AU, but if you do, that is a valid, you ran liquidity and you're getting displacement back through. So run up, grab liquidity, displace back through. Yeah, you do have these 3-minute candles that you would need to be mindful of as your full breaker if you're going to use that. You do need this candle to leave open that fair value gap and close bearish. I wouldn't want to see it reverse here in the next 5 minutes and close super bullish. That would invalidate that for me. But if it closes similar to what it is right now, then that's kind of how I think I would target that. I think I would target something like that. You could put it above this candle. I think I would probably feel better above. So maybe like a 10 pip stop, something like that. It still gives you a good 1 to 2. It gives you a good dig into this buy side imbalance here and with some room to go. Some good potential setup there. Can you explain why your breaker box and why you chose that specific area on gold? Yeah, so this is the last down close candle before we ran liquidity. So the run on buy stops was initiated here on this down close candle. So that's the candle I will use as my breaker. So once it displaces back below, you're getting a break of structure here and a break of structure here. My dogs see somebody, so you may be hearing them barking. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to turn this off for a second. But that's why that breaker. So your last down close candle before your run on buy stops. And then you get displacement back through it that leaves a fair value gap. And that's an A+ setup. That's what I like. Nice looking Aussie dollar setup right there. That's kind of pretty. Man, it's been so many days since I've seen a really pretty setup. When you see one, you're just like, God, that's nice. That is a nice looking trade. All right, I'm probably gonna stay on at least until about 9:15 today. I want to see how this gold setup plays out. So we'll find out as we head into this hourly close. We have one more 15-minute candle. It's closing very bullish. This is what good aggressive displacement looks like. So this next 15-minute candle, we will want to see just a slight pullback. Leave a wick somewhere up in here and then close bearish again. We don't want to see we don't want to see the next 15-minute candle aggressively turn around here. We'll see if it plays nicely with us. Man, you're really tempting me over here on this AU trade, Ahmad, because that's a very nice looking setup right there. It's leaving behind a beautiful fair value gap. I need to check my weather today. It's looking dark out there. Bear with me. Thunderstorms today, but not till after lunch. But man, those are some very dark skies. Nice thing is it's only like 72 outside, which is very abnormal for Houston in the mornings right now. Hey, Spiffy Smitty, I don't know if that answered your question. If it did not, let me know. I'll try to go back over it more clearly. But that's why I'm targeting that area, that breaker. I want to see a fair value gap left behind here. If it leaves this massive fair value gap, it doesn't have to come all the way back up here. It could just come into that breaker, and then we would be looking at something like that. And I would probably move my stop down to the bodies here. And then your target 1 to 2 would be this sell side liquidity, which lines up. So we don't want to see it run this sell side liquidity first. We want to see it be left behind. That's kind of what I would want to look for right here. So I don't want to see this 15-minute candle just tank right now, and in this last 15 minutes of this hour, take this out. My preference is that it closes bearish, leaves behind a fair value gap, and as the next hour, as the 9 o'clock hour opens, you get a pullback up into the bottom of that breaker inside this fair value gap that then targets these lows down here. But we won't know until the next 13 minutes. We'll find out if that's actually going to play out for us. Interested to see how dollar responds to this volume imbalance here. Good, I'm glad you understand that. A breaker just means that this was an order block that was disrespected and it becomes a breaker block. So it breaks through and violates, in this case, bullish order flow. So the order flow was bullish, 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 grab liquidity, and then it broke through and violated an old order block. This is the candle, the last move down that initiated the run into liquidity. And then it was displaced through, it broke through, creating a breaker block. And I don't want just to see a breaker block, I want to see a fair value gap. This is inefficient price action, and the market wants to be efficient. And it doesn't like to leave behind fair value gaps. It wants to pull back into them and retest them. GG says gold for me is low probability until we break below the low of the day, because they could easily run 67.23 and then go lower. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Until this candle closes bearish for me, I'm not going to be super excited about this setup. We've got 10 more minutes. I don't want to see it close bullish back up inside this area. I would much rather see it close closer to its open or below its open on this candle and leave a fair value gap behind, and then that would leave me this sell side liquidity to target. That's why it would be a good setup for me. But the fair value, there's a 30-minute fair value gap up here. I'm very mindful of that. It does not have to reach up into it. But we'll wait and watch. We got 10 more minutes to see how this 15-minute candle closes here. Aussie has displaced fair value gaps inside. I would want to see it get to 50% of that breaker block, which would be also a back into a premium level of that leg down. If price doesn't get to where you want it to get, you don't have a trade. It can swerve, it can get close, but if it doesn't get to where you want it to go, don't take the trade. So this is it. Gold currently is, I told you, I said I don't want to see this 15-minute candle. If this is going to continue to displace lower, I don't want to see it close bullish and not leave a fair value gap. Like, in the next 9 minutes, it needs to close off pretty hard here, and it would leave a tiny little fair value gap there. But if it takes out that fair value gap, this is not a setup. We did get displacement after a liquidity run, but we immediately had rejection off of that and pulled back up inside here. So unless this thing tanks and now it's closed in that, and it's not going to leave a fair value gap behind, even so I would probably say this is not going to be a good setup for me. I'm going to take that off. We would have needed this candle to leave behind a fair value gap, and it's not going to do that. And it's also not continuing to displace. So that means, as Gigi stated, it may want to run a little bit higher here and make another dig into liquidity. And that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. If pound can run up and grab some of that, that might be an interesting trade on pound here. If we could get a run on some buy side liquidity. Here's your overnight low and your current daily low, the current low of the day. If we could get back up close to that area, run this liquidity, we might have something there. Euro's not participating at all. It's just sitting on its low. Dollar could not displace above yesterday's high. It's taken out yesterday's low and came back up. I would, we'll see what's going on. But we do need a pullback. We've said all along we would need some kind of dollar pullback here. Pound, gold, watch and wait. No news today that I know of. I don't think there's any red folder news. Let me go over to Forex Factory economic calendar. There's some red folder Aussie news tonight. There's really nothing. There's no dollar news, no even medium impact or high impact dollar news today. Aussie is the only red folder news, and that will be later tonight. Got some GDP coming out. And then tomorrow, let's see. Trade balance information tomorrow. That could move the market. It's not listed as a highly volatile news event on the Forex Factory calendar, but that's really the only dollar news we have tomorrow. And then Thursday, we have some red folder news at 8:30 with unemployment claims. And then Friday, no dollar news. So kind of a light rest of the week on our news calendar. Gold completely reversing after running some sell side liquidity. This is why we don't ever just jump into a trade when we see displacement or a break of structure. You're always looking and waiting for your confirmations. Your confirmations are, we need to see a run of buy side liquidity. We need to see displacement away. We got our initial displacement, but we didn't get any follow through. We saw immediate rejection here. Yeah, next week we've got quite a bit of red folder news. Is the rate decision next week? I think it is. The interest rate decision, I think, might be next week. I can't remember when that meeting is or when they do that, but I know there's an interest rate meeting in June. Are they going to hold it? Are they going to raise it? Who the hell knows? Aussie pulling back up into that breaker and inside the fair value gap right here. So you have to watch and wait and see what's going to happen there. I don't trade Aussie dollar. This is something that Ahmad pointed out, and it is a pretty nice setup. So again, I'm not telling you to take it. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking that trade. I don't trade it. I'm only trading the pairs that I trade on. But that is what a valid setup look like. Run on liquidity, take out an old high, displace away. You had continued displacement away, fair value gap inside. It's really nice. As this hourly candle closes, I would expect the next hourly candle to move back up and create a wick up to possibly tap you in if you were looking to get into that trade. And then you do have this buy side imbalance here that is internal liquidity that price would want to potentially fill back in. It's a shame that gold could not continue to displace lower there, but it did not. It's not going to provide us any kind of nice opportunity. And if pound could push higher on that hourly open and grab some liquidity up here, that would be kind of cool. Couple minutes here until the 9 o'clock hour opens. If you jump up to your higher time frames, you can see what's going on the hourly time frame. You have a bearish order block formed. It closed below. This becomes a bearish order block. You would want to see price. It can wick above it, but you don't want to see price necessarily close aggressively back above that hourly order block. On the 4 hour, you can see we ran high, so we're running lower. You got sell side liquidity down here, buy side above it. So how much longer on that 4 hour? Oh, 4 hours about to close too. So this would be a order block on the 4 hour. These up close candles. Let's move price lower. You do have a fair value gap inside that's left behind. So you might get a pullback up into here. You never know. I would want to again see here on a 30-minute time frame. I would want to see a high, an old high, get swept and then roll over. Euro's closing bearish, pound is closing bullish. It's interesting. The dollar has not made a new high. You can see from, look right here. So this is, I need to get on the 15-minute. So this high right here is the 845 candle on Monday. If you look at Euro, the 845 candle on Monday, we have already taken out the low. Okay. So this is what ICT concept called SMT, meaning when a correlated pair takes out a higher low on one pair and the correlated pair, in this case, Euro dollar and DXY, Euro dollar took out the low. The dollar has not taken out that high. So for them to be working together, you would expect the dollar to also take out that high. The euro has, the dollar has not. So if we get a reversal from this point, this could be a signal that the dollar is going to roll over. That euro grab liquidity, the dollar did not. Meaning the dollar is weaker than the euro is stronger. So unless the dollar can take out this high, you have SMT, smart money tool, smart money technique, and it's just kind of a precursor. It can be a precursor, it can be a clue to let you know that there's a reversal about to happen. So again, took out the low here, did not take out the high that of the correlated pair. That's what S&T looks like. It looks like ICT is about to get on. So anybody, it's not going to hurt my feelings if any of you guys decide to jump over and watch ICT. I think he had tweeted he was going to stream this morning. So we'll see. Man, 15 viewers right now. Welcome in, guys. Say hi in the chat. I've only seen a few of you in here today, but feel free to jump in the chat and say hi. If you got a question about what we're doing, would love to hear from you. And as always, please hit that like button. Doing this for free here every day. I'm not charging anything. You can jump on Twitter. You can get in my DMs, whatever. I'm happy to help. This is something that I wish was around when I started 4.5 years ago. People that were online every single day, every single trading session. Well, every trading session that I would be here for. And just talking through everything that they're seeing and what they wait for, what they look for. There's no reason that all these people need to keep filling all these challenges. There's a simpler way to trade and to get past this. So we had SMT on EU buy side liquidity grab this morning during London. Yeah, that 15-minute, man. That London breaker on euro dollar, this London breaker, it just didn't get back up into that fair value gap. That would have been a incredibly beautiful trade. Aussie dollar, you can see the hourly candle has opened. Little push up. I would have wanted it to dig up a little bit higher there. Gold just did not follow through on its displacement here. And so we're going to need to wait on gold a little bit longer. I would want to see the pound take out some buy-side liquidity. And euro has taken out a low, DXY has not. So maybe we're going to see a reversal here on the dollar and the euro for the rest of the day. I don't know. So far, we've continued the London sell-off on euro dollar and pound. Dollar's got this volume imbalance up here that it's traded through multiple times. Now it's come back to it yesterday, didn't get into it. We've come back to yesterday's high and we failed to take out yesterday's high. Meanwhile, euro has taken out yesterday's low. So all of that stuff just means we're sitting around watching and waiting. Hey Xanax, welcome in, man. Doing well today. Still hunting trades. That's what we're doing every day, just hunting trades, sitting in the tree stand and waiting for that trophy buck to show up. We thought we might be getting a nice little setup here on gold, but we didn't get continued displacement down. We had no fair value gap left behind. It may hold. This little breaker or this little order block, 15-minute order block might hold. But I'm going to need to see what happens in the next little bit. I can stay on for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to have to call it a day. I don't like sitting in the charts for more than about 2.5 hours. Any longer than that, it's just not. It's counterproductive, really. Day 7, and we're still looking for our 4th trade. So we just have not had the same amount of setups that we've had in previous week trading sessions. Let's see. ICT 4 minutes ago says, give me a few minutes to reboot my system and set up the live stream. Then we ramble. I will prompt you with a tweet. This dude's so old school, man. Hey, can you hear me? Can you see me? Is this working? And he always says that 5x5. 5x5. I don't even know what 5x5 means. Anyway. He's probably trading indices, so if you trade indices, he's always entertaining to watch, but he's going to be on the 5-minute and 1-minute charts, typically. Thanks, Ghost. I mean, everybody, we should all be patient. That's what we should all be pushing for. If you're interested in taking that Aussie trade, it is approaching that little entry place that I identified there. Again, I'm not trading Aussie dollar. I'm not advising you to take that trade. This is a setup that one of our chatters found. A mod pointed this out. It is a nice looking setup. And, maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. But that is it's kind of a nice setup there on the 15-minute time frame. Run on buy side. Displacement through fair value gap inside of a breaker. You're about 50% of the breaker. Be interested to see how that plays out. I'll follow along. Good luck to any of you guys that are going to try and take that trade. Not good luck, good hunting. I don't like wishing people good luck. Traders, I don't want to wish traders luck. It's not good for your mental game to be lucky. You want to be disciplined. That's what you want to be. Aussie dollar has been strong. I'm not confident enough in it. Yeah, I'm not either. I don't really know even what's going on in the higher time frames. I just jumped over to a 15-minute time frame. That's what a mod pointed out. I did not do any analysis on bias at all. So that's why I'm not taking that trade. I'm just telling you, we did get a run on buy side liquidity. You did get displacement through and create a breaker block with a nested fair value gap, which is that's what I trade on this $10K to $2 million funding challenge. That's exactly the setup that I would be looking for. Michael says there's a 1-hour setup on UJ. I'm happy to take a look. Jump up to the 1 hour here. If you're bullish on UJ, you would want to see a run on sell side liquidity and then displacement. So you have, where did this run on liquidity start? I would say right here off of these 2 hourly candles. You could use this one, but I would use the higher body. So these 2 hourly candles right here would be your hourly breaker. So you had a run on sell side, and then you've had displacement back above, creating, you've got a fair value gap here inside of that, but it doesn't have to get that low. Depending on how this hour closes, if there's a fair value gap there, you could use one of those. I would use that. If you jump down to the 30-minute, I think I might want to use this as a breaker right here. This sell side liquidity was run after that up close candle. Up close, sell side, displaced through with a fair value gap inside of there, which would also align with a discount area, that fair value gap inside of a discount. So you would, if you're going to be buying UJ, you would want to buy at a discount inside of a fair value gap inside of a 30-minute breaker. Again, I don't trade UJ, but that's how I would see that. Um, that's how I would look at that setup. Is I would look at something like this. The candle below the fair value gap, potentially something like that. Target, that'd be your target. I might do it down here below this candle. That's there's a fair value gap there, so that's the lowest fair value gap, which would increase your 1 to 2 to somewhere up there, which would line up with your volume imbalance that it hasn't quite gotten back up into. So that could be a nice little setup on UJ. If you trade UJ, that is, you've had a liquidity grab, you've had displacement. So if you're bullish, that would qualify. It's a good setup. Run on sell side, displacement immediately away, continued displacement, leaving fair value gaps inside of a breaker block. You do have your 1 hour breaker on a little higher. It's a little bit further up. 15 minute. Yeah, I like that. I like that 15 minute, 30 minute breaker right here. This move started up here and then dropped and then displaced through. I like it. It's pretty. Good job, Michael. Good job, Michael. You guys are learning how to find these setups, and that's really what it's all about. You don't need me. You need to be patient, and you need to execute your trading plan. That's all you need. And if watching me and listening to me talk it out helps you do that, cool, but you don't need me. Gold running up hard, pound still pulling back, euro also pulling back. So we'll wait and see. Do we get any kind of run on liquidity here? This is that fair value gap inside of this breaker. Right there. Breaker. Well, you have these down close candles, a run on liquidity and displacement. I just don't like this little hiccup before displacement. I don't like that. I would have rather have just seen a straight move down to displace through. But this fair value gap could be nice for somebody today. I have no interest in taking it. It does not fit my trading plan. I'd really like to see GB or GU tap into that buy side before it falls away. That could be nice. US 30 is doing nothing. Yeah, what a freaking waste of a pair. I almost kind of want to take it off. Like, I don't even like going to it and looking at it. GJ, you're inside the fair value gaps here on this downside. It just depends on GJ whether you're bearish or bullish, because you have a bearish breaker. You had a run on liquidity right here, displacement through this breaker, fair value gap, and it's traded off of it. But you've also had a run on sell side and displacement through. It's not as strong of a displacement. I would have preferred this candle to continue and be bullish right here. I don't like when you get above it and then you immediately come back into that. Like you saw with gold right here. We saw displacement and then it immediately came back into it. You want to see continued displacement through a breaker. At least I do. It's not high probability for me unless it's continued displacement. The one loss we took on gold last week is because I didn't wait for the second 15-minute candle to continue displacement. That's why we took the loss last week on gold. It was a poor trading decision last week on that setup. Aussie, if you're in it, again, I'm going to be interested to see how this setup plays out. Remember, these setups are not guaranteed winners. So if you think you're going to learn this system and you think every time I see this setup form, it's going to give me a winner, you're wrong. We've had 2 losers on this setup in the last week and a half, and only 1 winner. Still profitable. 33% win rate, still profitable. Above break even. Interesting, everything that's going on right now. Engineering some liquidity here. It doesn't have to get above that high, but I'd like it to grab some good. On the 5-minute, you can see there's some good highs here, fair value gaps, highs that it could run on pound. If in the next, I'm going to get off here in just a minute. If something shapes up off the stream, I will post it on Twitter. So be sure to follow at Venator Trading over on Twitter. And I'll post any trades that do set up again while I'm off stream. If it gets to be about 11 to 11:30 New York time and there's no setups, there will be no trade again for the day. That's past my trading window, and I have no desire to get into a trade on Forex pairs after 11 o'clock New York, 11:30. That's about as late as I'll go. UJ pulling back, not quite down into that 30-minute breaker area. Aussie reacting nicely so far, pulling into that breaker, into that fair value gap, and it's starting to fall away a little bit. GJ falling away from the fair value gap inside that breaker. Just a tiny little fair value gap right there. And gold continuing to be frustrating. The dollar has pulled back. I'd like to see dollar make another little deeper pullback here and then make a run for the high of the day. Take out yesterday's high. And get back in cahoots with the euro dollar that's already taken out yesterday's low. Don't get frustrated if you're following me and you've been here for this whole funded challenge. These are the days and these are the seasons in which you're sitting here trading and you're like, God, I haven't taken a trade in 4 days. It's okay. It's okay. You're not, if you're with a no time limit firm, it's completely fine. Just wait for your setup. Be a hunter. Hunters don't go into the woods and get a trophy buck every single day, and neither do we. The last week of phase 2, when we had 5 days in a row of a trade setup, that is not common. What you're seeing right now is more common. There are 3 more trading days after this for a setup to form. And if it doesn't do it on Monday and it doesn't do it on Tuesday, it might do it on Wednesday. It might do it on Thursday. It might do it on Friday. I don't know. But I'm going to be here watching. And if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'll wait till next week. I'll take my payout on Sunday, buy another 10K account, and we'll start a brand new 10K challenge on Monday, along with a 10K funded. So we're not going to rush. We're not going to push. We're not going to do anything. I hope nobody took that gold trade anticipating, thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and catch this short right now. I hope you didn't do that. Aussie falling away nicely off of that breaker in that fair value gap. So you would want, since this is a 10 pip stop, you're going to want to get about 15 pips into profit before you would move to break even. At least I would. I would want to see price displace below here, and somewhere down in here is where I would want to move to break even. For sure, not before we broke that low. I would not be moving to break even until we displace below that low. But my mechanical number is 1.5R. So if this is 10, I would need it to be 15 pips in profit before I would want to move to break even. But that may just stall right here and whip back up and take out a new high. So you never know. But so far, it looks like it's playing nicely. For me, for gold, I would want to see gold make a new high now. Get up into this 30-minute fair value gap. That's kind of what I would want to see on gold. And then displace, we'll just have to watch and wait and see what the setup is. Dollar trying to push a little bit higher. Pound. Euro. Yeah, we're just watching, waiting. Nothing else happening. So with that in mind, it's almost 9:30. I don't need to sit around here any longer. I've talked enough. My throat is getting tired. My voice is getting tired. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call it right here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching again today. Click that like button if you haven't already. Feel free to share this on Twitter or anywhere else that if you know anybody else that would benefit from something like that, I'd appreciate it. And we'll be back again tomorrow at 7 a.m. New York time. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all then.